All right, y'all. Today we're looking at this boudoir photography business. We're going to see if it's local search or if its city search has BSS. Also see if it's hitting the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots, page 1 on Google. All right, so we're back here in the GBC universe where we take declining boudoir photographers, turn them into the #1 boudoir photographers in their city. Our North Star, as always, is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. More about that and, whatever, pinned post, pinned video, home video, somewhere around here. And that's because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So if we're falling, we're missing somewhere on this, intent ladder. We're not capturing the amount of people we need to at each intent step or intent level. So we see over on the left, BSS, that's what we talk about here. That's the highest intent people doing, social search, Google search. And then over on the right, the lowest intent people, that's BLCS, that's our other brand, Boudoir Facebook Ad Doctor. That's what we're working with boudoir photographers spending more than 10 grand per month on their boudoir Facebook ads. But BSS, that's what we care about today. So care about the highest intent people right now. So BSS is boudoir search sameness. That's when a boudoir photographer has 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google. So 0 slots on page 1, and we're invisible. We're basically dead. And that's because that means we're on page 2 or deeper, and we know that approximately 80% of Google searches never go past the first page. That's literally page 1 only. So those 20%ers, we don't care about them. We want to deal with the 80%. 80%ers, the bulk of people. Now, 1 slot on page 1 also is not good for us because we look like everyone else on page 1. If there's not other boudoir photographers and everyone's got 1 link, then the searcher, the buyer, is simply going to click, literally click and opens everyone's website, contact everyone. We don't stand out at all. Probably won't even remember our name. So boudoir search sameness, boudoir photographer has 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google. And 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google is not normal. Extremely common, but it's not normal. Is actually the symptom of 2 deeper root causes. First deeper root cause is market saturation, which most know about. The second one is the false belief of page 1 equality, which most people do not know about. Now, the market saturation, that's where it seems like every week someone gets a new iPhone, they throw up their Google My Business profile, and they say they shoot boudoir, they got their website up, they're competing with us to rank on page 1. Basically, more boudoir photographers over time competing for the same number of buyers, so it makes it harder, more difficult for everyone to compete. So that's consistently pushing people out of page 1 onto page 2, and effectively invisible to 80% of searchers that never even go to page 2. Now the new one here, we got the false belief of page 1 equality. This is new because people have kind of auto-accepted it because there's never really a word to describe this. For people to say, oh, I agree with that or disagree with that or I think it's true or false or whatever. But the false belief of page 1 is equality is basically assuming, getting 0 or 1 slot on page 1 of Google is the default. It's the norm. Everyone either has 0 slots or 1 slot, and maybe you had 1 slot on Google page 1, but market saturation puts us off to page 2. So all right, we got 0 slots on page 1, we got 1 slot on page 2, and all right, that's how it is. It's how being a boudoir photographer is. But no, actually, we can actually take as many page 1 slots as we want to put in the work for. And I know that because I went from 0 out of 10 slots on page 1 to 9 out of 10 slots on page 1 of Google in 10 days. So this kind of page 1 equality assumption or like default belief, default assumption is 100% incorrect, which, we'll see in a few more pictures down here. We also know that a boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness, so 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google, is a disappearing boudoir photographer. Yeah, it's kind of like the canary in the coal mine. If you got 0 slots on page 1, you're definitely disappearing. 1 slot on page 1 probably also disappearing as well because there may be some other people that got 2 slots on page 1, and we're not at 1 slot. We're not saying that at all. We're basically invisible. We're being price shopped against everyone. So it's kind of the canary in the coal mine where once someone becomes a disappearing boudoir photographer and they don't fight against it, then pretty soon, eventually, the entire business disappears as well. So it's kind of the canary in the coal mine of what can happen next future in the business. So BSS, luckily we got the solution. BSS is treated with social search saturation, aka our S-cubed methodology. We invented this, been working on it for about 7 months now. We're liking the results so far, so we're bringing it to market. And to utilize S-cubed methodology, remember it's social search saturation, so we saturate search on Facebook search, Instagram search, TikTok search, YouTube search with what our, people searching for boudoir photo shoots would be typing in. So we show up there. And once we do that, that actually flows over to Google. So saturating social search actually flows over to Google kind of as a byproduct, giving us multiple links on page one. And again, I went from 0 out of 10 links on page one to 9 out of 10 links on page one for what I wanted to rank for in 10 days. And so the magic about this is the only way someone can use this is if they crash, if they destroy that false belief of page one equality. Because once we use S-cubed methodology, and once you actually see these results I got, we'll realize, oh, that belief was actually false. Page one equality is not the norm. Google actually will give us as many links as we want to put in the effort to acquire, as many page one links. And so the second magical thing about S-cubed methodologies is it's the only thing I've seen that actually fights back against market saturation. So imagine if there's, we're a boudoir photographer in LA, and there's a total of 1 million boudoir photographers in LA. Everyone's got their own website. So everyone's, fiercely competing to be page one on Google. But imagine we take the S-cubed methodology to the extreme where we rank so hard for the highest intent keywords for people searching for boudoir photo shoots. And, we absolutely crush social search saturation, where literally like the first 300 slots of any and every search related to boudoir is us. So it's around all the social platforms that flows over to Google, and let's say the first 300 organic results on Google are only us as well, because we took S-cubed methodology to the max. So the fact that there's 999,999 other boudoir photographers actually doesn't matter to us, because for the first 300 slots, anywhere somebody looks for a boudoir photo shoot in LA, we're the only ones there. They got to go down to slot like 301, and Google is 10 organic slots per page, so they got to go to page like 31 to find another boudoir photographer. So whose business is still doing great? Ours, even though there's literally 999,999 other boudoir photographer competitors. So this is one of the special things about S-cubed methodology. It's the only thing I've seen that actually, builds momentum and helps us compete against market saturation. That can happen relatively quickly. The only other second thing would be brand. People doing branded searching for our brand specifically, but that takes years. So this is something that happens way faster than years to build a brand. And now once treated with S-cubed methodology, we now have page one visibility. So we're actually seen on page one, even though, we may have had one slot on page one, we're still kind of invisible. But with page one visibility, we got 2. Well, we go for the GBC minimum of 3 out of 10 here for local search and city search. But the added bonus is every new slot we take up on page one, we are kicking a competing boudoir photographer off page one, effectively making them invisible, because approximately 80% of Google searches never go to page 2. They stay on page 1. And as a result, kind of as we take 4 out of 10 slots, 5 out of 10 slots, 6 out of 10 slots, people searching for, at least the 80%, the big chunk we're going for, they can only price shop us or compare us against, 2, 3, 4 boudoir photographers instead of against 9, because they ain't going to page 2 anyways. And so this is one of the other bonuses. It's actually kicks our competitors out of basically being found. Now, page one visibility activates Boudoir search visibility for us, yeah, because we're no longer at a 0 or 1. We're no longer at 0 1 slots on page one, and Boudoir search for yep. So we're actually standing out. Well, 0 1, and we won't get to 3 because there may actually be someone else that has 2. I mean, 1's most common, 2 is kind of rare, but if we got 3 out of 10, we're ultra rare. And we're definitely standing out against people that have 1 slot each, and still standing out against people that got 2 slots. It's probably only one other person. And a boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility is a visible boudoir photographer, a VBP. And this is our university disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness caused by market saturation and the false belief of page one equality. Once we accept page one equality is false, now we know, okay, now we can tackle it, we can solve it. The only thing I know of that can solve it is S-cubed methodology. It actually solves, the only thing I know that can solve both false belief of page one equality and market saturation. We achieve page one visibility, we become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility. All right, so these are my results actually doing, so ranking for the keyword BLCS boudoir. So that's what I want to rank for. So we got the AI overview, got the Google Map Pack. Now looking at organic. So I got organic slot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10. So I got 9 out of 10 slots on page 1 of Google. And this was after I went from 0 out of 10 to 9 out of 10 in 10 days. And kicked everyone else off page 1. I took it over. And this is showing the power of the S-cubed methodology, where Google wants to give these page 1 slots to the people that want the page 1 slots the most, and to be relevant to the user search. So these slots are always up for grabs for everyone that wants them. So moving on to our main event here, we're going to check this boudoir photography business, see if it's got BSS for local and city search, even if it's in its GBC recommended minimum, 3 out of 10 page 1 slots. So let's go. All right, I'm going to Virginia Beach. All right, that's fine. So let's check this out. Virginia Beach. Boom, we got 1. And boom, we got 2. Okay. All right, so we got 2 out of 10 for local. So we do not have BSS, but we did not hit the GBC recommend minimum of 3 out of 10 slots. Page 1 on Google. All right, now we're going to go to our city search, Norfolk, Virginia. All right, so let's check this out. So let's see. Let's see if we got any here. Nope. All right, so we're at 0 to 10. And yeah, city's always harder to rank for than local. So we're at 2 out of 10. Page 1, Google for local. So we don't have BSS for local. We do have BSS for city, but for both of them, we did not hit the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 page 1 slots on Google for either of them. So if you're a disappearing boudoir photographer, you've done your local search, you've done your city search, and you actually see, you've got BSS for either or both of them, or you're not meeting GBC minimum, recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 page 1 Google slots for either or both of them. And you're like, all right, you realize you got BSS, you understand page 1 equality, there's a false belief, and you're like, all right, I broke through that. I need to achieve, I need to get as many page 1 Google slots as possible. And you also understand the market saturation with, the new iPhones, more boudoir photographers coming in, new cameras, more boudoir photographers coming in. But you're also looking ahead and you're saying, man, AI is taking a ton of people's jobs. Last time a bunch of people lost their job, COVID, a huge tsunami of boudoir photographers coming in. So you've actually decided, hey, you got to fortify your life right now and actually get as many page 1 slots on Google, which is only a downflow of getting as many page 1 slots on social search for all the social network searches. It's downstream of that. Before all these boudoir photographers come into the market, come into the city, and start making their websites, ranking, competing for page one, kind of like prepare, kind of like the levees in New Orleans, since the city is below sea level, kind of like build those levees up to prevent floodwaters or the flood of boudoir photographers from taking your market share. And you're seeing, okay, SQ's methodology is the only solution that can get me there effectively. And you want to achieve page one visibility, hit the GBC minimum, recommended minimum of 3 out of 10. Become a visible boudoir photographer, have boudoir search visibility, because you know you need this on your way to become the #1 boudoir photographer in your city. And you also know that you actually, there's actually hidden back-end benefits of doing this SQ methodology as well, we have not talked about yet. First one would be in we're building thematic keyword columns around our brand name, our social handles, our website, and all that. As we do SQ methodology more and more, it increases the probability we get actually recommended for AI overviews. Here at the top, premium placement, only one slot for local search and city search. And you also want the back-end benefits of every time we execute another day we execute SQ methodology, increasing the probability we get recommended through all the AI search engines, ChatGPT search, Claude search, Perplexity search, Microsoft Copilot search, Google Gemini search. These all run on, thematic keyword clusters, authority, age. And so every day we execute the SQ methodology, we're increasing that, probably getting recommended there. And we know more, literally, Google still has, I believe, like 89 or 90% of global search share. But dude, AI search, using more and more and eating into Google every single day. I haven't used standard Google search in literally like a year to actually click websites and open and read stuff. I've always been using the Google AI mode. And so you want these backend benefits. You also decide you want to be the first mover in your city, because you recognize, my current plan is to only work with one person per city on this. So you kind of want to box out your competitors, and kind of achieve all this front end results. Hit the GBC minimum 3 out of 10 on page one, kick out competitors off page one, effectively make them invisible to approximately 80% of searchers who never go to page two. And build these momentum on the back end, which is higher probability AI overview, higher probability being recommended AI search, and higher probability nobody in your city ever catches you. Putting more distance between you and them, by building up this thematic keyword columns attached to your brand for the backend for AI search engines to be recommending into the future. Because I know last time I used Google or ChatGPT to search for boudoir photographers in a city, dude, it only gave me 3. I'm like, what? There's like 60 in this city. It literally only displayed 3. So we want a higher chance of being those 3. And you also know if someone else in your city jumps on this first, they lock you out, well, you're gonna have to derive or figure out SQ methodology on your own. And then you have to go execute it, but you won't be confident executing it because you don't know if you've even derived it correctly to use it correctly. And then you'd have to equal our output with your competitor to just maintain the gap. You'd have to actually exceed our output with your competitor for us, to actually make up ground on us, and kind of take back the momentum that we're building in the back-end AI search and the front-end results we get kicking you off page one of Google. So you've decided, screw that. I'd rather be the first mover in my city, give myself the highest chance of blocking out all the boudoir photographers coming from AI. They're going to be forced losing their jobs, but people still got to earn money. And you decide SQ methodology is the solution you want, the path you want to take. So shoot me a DM. Not right now. My DMs are full, or my DMs are closed. The hospital we're not taking any new patients right now. But